to speak. Ajay Srinivasan, the director of Crisil Research, has put out a report explaining the advantages to some sectors when GST is fully implemented. And his calculation is that we are going to see a good 20% cut in costs for several sectors. Ajay, can you quickly give a good morning, welcome. Can you quickly tell us the essence of your report, what kind of cost savings and for whom?
See, essentially, a large non-bulk which today the logistics costs are anywhere in the region of 5 to 8% of sales. They will see a saving because of two reasons. One is the warehousing cost and inventory carrying cost will come down. Secondly, if checkposts are also dismantled along with GST, we will see a significant reduction in the cost of transit of goods as well. Due to these two reasons, we believe that the logistics cost for several sectors, several non-bulk goods could come down by up to 20%. But there are two necessary conditions for GST to be successful. One is that the levy of additional tax of 1%, which is being envisaged right now, that is against the core principle of GST, and that to our mind would not be a very good idea. The second thing is today, almost a quarter of the journey time is lost because of stoppages which occur during the transportation of goods. And thereby, it ends up adding a lot to the cost. And if checkposts also are dismantled along with GST, it will lead to faster transit of goods and also lower inventory carrying costs. So if you look at the numbers broadly, we believe that over a period of 3 to 4 years, you will see up to a 20% saving in costs, out of which approximately 15% will come because of lower warehousing costs and lower inventory carrying costs, and approximately 5% will come because of faster transit of goods.
Jay, hi, morning. So that's very good to hear that 20% will be sliced off the logistics cost, but you also write in your note that the cost gains will be lower for FMCG and pharma companies. How much lower do you think it could be, and why is that?
See, if you look at it, we have spoken to a number of companies across each of these sectors and got a sense from them also how they believe GST will change the logistics scenario for them. And our sense today is that many corporates are still waiting to see the fine print, and only after they see the fine print, they will decide the final GST strategy. And therefore, a lot of these savings will not be front-ended. Over a 3 to 4 year period, you will see these savings materialize. Coming to a specific question on FMCG and pharma, if you look at these two sectors, there are two very critical things that are required in these two sectors. One is that the goods need to be shipped from the distributor to the retailer in a very fast manner. So replenishment of stocks happens much more quickly compared to, say, a consumer durables. And secondly, also the consumers typically will not wait for a particular brand. Suppose I go to a retailer and I find that a particular brand is not available. Consumers would typically tend to opt for another brand. Therefore, dismantling existing distribution networks and also making sure that there is no risk of stockouts would take a lot of time and effort on the part of FMCG and pharma. And if you look at pharma, for example, there's a heavy reliance today on carrying and forwarding agents for the purpose of logistics. And these CFA agents also perform a lot of other ancillary services such as inventory and maintaining the stocks at retailer end, etc. And therefore, our sense is that because of the need for faster replenishment of stocks at the retailer end and the absolute necessity to avoid any risk of stockouts at retailer level, for these two sectors, we could see much more calibrated movement towards GST, and we will see a much lower reduction compared to, say, a consumer durables, where a consumer may prefer to wait for a particular brand given the kind of sector that is.
Well, Ajay, finally, you said that this 1% levy of sales tax will detract from the principle of GST. That point is taken, but will it lower the cost advantages in any fashion? Let us assume that for purposes of political expediency, the GST is introduced even after giving that 1% to the states. Even then, the gains, logistical and warehousing gains, are going to be there.
I think suppose you have this 1% tax levied, even for a short while, it will significantly bring down these gains. It's a very, very bad idea if you ask us, because what will happen is suppose you transport a good to 4 states, then it will straight away add 4% to the cost. Therefore, it will further elongate or further bring down any benefits because of GST. And these calculations are assuming that this 1% tax will not be there. And anyway, since the central government has agreed to compensate states for 2 years to the extent of 100%, our sense is that ideally one should not have this 1% additional tax being imposed, because it will actually lead to the benefits of GST not being fully realized.
That point is completely taken. I'm not arguing in favor of that tax at all. And everyone has realized now that every time the good goes from one state to another 1% gets added. So it is not just 1%. It will actually be 4 or 5%. I take your point. I'm only saying that logistical gains nevertheless will continue. Only thing is that they get lessened by this extra 4 or 5%, right?
Absolutely. For example, we are saying say up to 20% over a 3 to 4 year period. Then this, if this additional 1% tax is introduced even for 2 years, then this number could come down significantly, maybe even about 10%. Therefore, to realize the full benefits of GST, you will have to do away with this additional tax. And one more thing which is less talked about is that GST provides a golden opportunity to actually stop the inefficiencies which have resulted in our transport system because of checkposts being there at every level, at every state. And if you're able to do that also along with GST, it will lead to significant gains, not only in terms of transportation costs, also because a truck can move much more quicker across states. Potentially it can also bring down the cost of transporting goods and inflation, etc.
Yeah. Ajay, we have to wind down this conversation. Thank you very much for joining us with your insights on the gains, logistical gains that might come if GST is introduced. Because